August the, whatever day it is, I don't know what day it is. But anyway, this is my last day of freedom. This is the Friday, my last day off of the summer. And I'm headed to school to make some copies for the first day of school and get ready for parent-teacher night. I have something funny to share real quick. So, for the past couple of days, I've been getting really frustrated because I've been trying to text my wife, Kristen, and call her, but my calls have been going straight to voicemail, and my texts haven't been going through at all. And it was strange because I was able to call and text other people and receive calls and texts from other people, and she was able to call and text other people and receive. So I was like, all right, so something's wrong. It might be time for a new phone, because she dropped her phone like a month ago and cracked the screen and everything. And I said, it might be time for a new phone. And we started talking about it. And I'm like, but wait a minute, are you getting other people's texts and calls? And she's like, yeah. And I said, well, I'm getting other people's texts and calls too. So it's just a thing between the two of us. And so we're like, okay, whatever, we'll figure it out later. She had me blocked. So she somehow had me blocked on her contacts list. And I'm like, do you know how many steps it takes to go and block somebody? It's not, you can't just pocket block somebody. She claims that it wasn't somehow an accident, but I'm calling shenanigans on that right now. The sun is bright. There we go. Okay, made it to the school. Let's see what kind of shape the hallway's in. Last time I was here, there was stuff in the hallway for days. So we're gonna see. Let's see what we got. Getting out of the car. Better lock my door. Okay, so being a bit of a rebel here, as you can see. We got this notice on the door that says, oh, you can't see it, but it says not an entrance. I'm entering here. Okay. Got the automatic lights turning on. I'm the only one here. It's quiet. Too quiet. Okay, so, ta-da! Fairly clean hallway. Okay, so these are the student work boxes. This is where I keep their independent work. So when we get to the time of the year when I start doing my small group instruction for reading and math, this is one of the centers. This is one of the rotations that they do. It's color-coded for each group. And I group my students, I do ability grouping, and they sit at the green, blue, yellow, or red table. And they will have their own box of work that's on their level. So it's a really easy way for me to differentiate. So each group, red, green, blue, yellow, will be working on a similar skill, but it can vary even by child. So one student in the green group might be doing something slightly different than their other teammate. The computer section. This is a section that often gets neglected in many classrooms, really out of not knowing what to do with them, right? Like teaching kindergarten is hard enough. How are we going to teach them to use a computer, click with a mouse? That sort of stuff is hard. But I'm going to share a couple quick websites with you that I'll link in the description below. These are great websites for starting out. So we have starfall.com, abcya.com, ABC Mouse, and my favorite is Raz Kids. Now, Raz Kids is a paid service. It's a part of, what is it a part of? It's a part of Reading A to Z. It costs $100 per year, and what it does is it allows kids to go in and read leveled readers, A through Z, guided reading level, and they read the book. They can actually listen to it first, then they read it themselves, and then they're able to take a quiz at the end for comprehension, and it tracks their progress and everything. They can get on that website from home on a tablet or phone. And also try and get creative with like time for computer. Like you don't have to have a scheduled computer lab time. You can, something I started doing last year that worked really well is 1 day a week, each table had a chance to go on the computer during the morning right after breakfast. So they'd eat their breakfast really fast on their day, and then they get on the computer for like a half an hour. So that's like a half an hour of time where everyone else would normally be finishing up their breakfast, doing their morning work, and then we move on to journal time. So they're just missing 1 day a week of that, but that gives them like a half hour a week guaranteed on computers outside the computer lab. So what's really nice is I actually get to have my own classroom bathroom. So I'm going to talk to you real quick about how I manage that. So that's a big part of classroom management is restroom break. So as you can see, there's a little go and stop sign on the door. Obviously go means that it's empty and stop means there's somebody in there. So here's what I do. I don't have my students ask if they can use the bathroom. I let them monitor that themselves. So if they see it's green, that means they can go. If it's on stop, that means that they cannot go. So that eliminates those raised hands asking to use the restroom. They just simply look over. Now, one thing that I do have to teach, though, is appropriate and inappropriate times to go. For example, I teach them on the first day of school that if we're learning on the carpet, if we're actively on the carpet doing something, they cannot go. They have to wait until we get back to our seats, then they can go. So there's times that they can and can't go, and we discuss those early on in the year so that it doesn't become a problem. And then I don't have to use a whole group restroom break. I do one right before we go to our special. That way the music teacher, the PE teacher, and the art teacher don't have to deal with sending kids to the restroom. So I make sure to take my kids' whole group right before then, just out of respect for their time. But other than that, I don't have to waste any instructional time in the restroom because we get to use it in here. And also, there's no instructional time wasted, kids raising their hand asking to go. So that's just how I choose to use it. And again, we'll see if that works this year too, because it really depends on your students. Sometimes some students can handle that responsibility and some students can't. So you just have to really feel out your class. Okay, so I was actually lucky enough to inherit these here. These awesome things. This is where I store the community supplies. Each table has 3 of these boxes. And children that sit across from each other share this box. So the kid that sits here will share the same materials as the kid that sits here. So what's nice about this is you don't have to deal with kids that can't reach. They can all reach their supplies. That's really nice. Again, I inherited these, so I'm not sure. It looks like they were just made simply by a few pieces of wood, put them together. They look like they've been glued even, so it seems simple enough to put together if you want to try making your own. In the past, I had a community tote in the middle, but the problem was kids couldn't reach it, so they had to reach across the table or they had to pull it closer to themselves, and that would often lead to trouble. So this is really nice having these. I choose not to do personal supplies because I want to teach them how to share. I feel like that's part of my responsibility as a kindergarten teacher is to teach them how to share. So, there are going to be problems sometimes, but I feel like I can help them move through that and teach them how to share. So that's why I do community supplies. Now, if they want to bring in a special pencil, I'll allow them to, and they can keep that in their own individual part, the small part of the box. But as far as crayons and stuff, we just use the same, we share. So, and another thing is, if whoever sits in the middle, let's say that they don't have any green, they lost it or got broke, they have to ask a neighbor if they can borrow one of theirs. So they can't just take it. So I make them ask. I teach them how to ask. So we do a little role play, right? Like I say, okay, pretend you don't have a blue. How can you ask for a neighbor? A lot of times when you're teaching kindergarten, this might, especially if they're an only child, some of my students, this is their first time around other kids their age. They didn't go to daycare, or, mom stayed at home and watched them. This is their first time around kids their age for this long. So little social skills like that, how to ask for help, how to ask a question, I do teach that as well. In between each table, I have this little tower here. I have one here, and there is one for the other 2 tables. So what I use these for is this is where I keep all of the papers that they're going to pass out. and that way they're already there. And I will have a table captain be responsible for delivering the materials to their neighbors. So it has 3 tiers. The top tier is going to be for stuff that we do for reading. That's like the first thing that we do, any reading material. The middle tier will be things for social studies or any other miscellaneous writing, and the bottom tier will be for the afternoon, will be for math supplies. So I do choose a table captain for each table at the beginning of the year, and again, they're responsible for passing out and collecting all materials. And what I like to do is at the end of the week, I actually have that table captain choose the next table captain based on their behavior throughout the week. And, you know, it starts out by, oh, who do I like? You know, who's my friend? But eventually, by the end of the year, students will actually pick other students based on their behavior throughout the week. And you have to teach that. But that's how I pass out papers, and that's how I distribute my materials. Coming into work on a Friday, making responsible choices. Trying to get ready for kids to come. All right, so I got a quick teacher hack for you. So we make hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions every day as a teacher. So I try to eliminate as many of those decisions as possible throughout the day and the week. For example, I pick out my outfits the night before, if not Sunday, for the whole week. But I have the same exact lunch every single day of the week. I have a peanut butter and jelly, I have an apple, and some carrot sticks. So I know, pretty boring. But when I don't have to think about what I'm going to have for lunch, then that's one less decision I have to make that day. Also, I like it just fine, and I don't overeat because it's just something simple. And on top of that, because it's not messy and I don't have to heat it up or anything, I can have a working lunch every day, and I don't have to go into the teacher's lounge and heat something up. So I have the same lunch every day, and it just keeps it simple for me. I can eat it on the go, and I don't have to worry about that. So that's just a quick teacher hack. Try to have the same lunch every day. I know it's boring, but I feel like it saves some stress in the long run, and hey, we're all trying to do that, right? So yeah, this is my first center that I introduce, and this one is very simple. It's just these plastic letters, and they have to match them on this traceable letter sheet here. It's very simple. It's upper and lowercase letters, so they can try and fit them both on. They try and fit the letter on the mat where it belongs, upper and lowercase. It's very simple. It's a very high success rate. Students can be confident in it. And this is the very first center that I will introduce when it's the time. Okay, so the next center is stamping. I use this right here, this blank letter chart for that. As you can see, this has been started by a student from last year. Basically, they just take one of the uppercase or lowercase stamps, and they stamp it on the pad, and then they stamp it on the chart. So what's a little bit tricky about it is, if you can notice, the chart is all lowercase, and so the beginning students, I have them start with the lowercase letters, and it's easy to match. But the more advanced students, I have them try to match the uppercase to lowercase. This is the beginning sound center. What I have here is I have a card, many cards, that have the word on the back and a picture on the front. So what they do on this activity is they pick one of the cards and they say what's on the card. Okay? And then they turn it over and then see what the word is and how it's spelled. And then they copy the word into the box. So if you have football, it would go something like this. Football. Oh, that starts with F. They turn it over. Yep. There's an F, and then they copy the word into the F box. They do that again and again, and if you've noticed something about these centers, it's that all these centers will take a while. So you really aren't going to finish these centers. These centers are designed to last the students for the entirety of my small group lesson. That way we don't have any early finishers and any distractions. So these centers, all 3 of these centers, should take quite some time to complete. This is my classroom incentive for the year. I've been using this for a few years and I really like it. It's called Brain Power. And so what I have here is I have 3 different sizes of these little fuzzy balls that I got, I think, from Target. I have the large one, the medium one, and the small one. And I have an empty jar. As you probably guessed from most incentive systems, you have to fill the jar up to the top. When it becomes full, we have a classroom party. And that could be something like a popcorn party. We'll watch a movie. We can have extra recess. It's simple, cheap things that we do as a whole group reward. So the reason why I have different sizes, the large brain power is when the whole class does something well. The medium brain power is for when a small group does something well, and the small one is for when an individual does something well. The reason why I have this distinction between the 3 is so that the students can see that individually you can make a difference in the goal. As a small group and as a whole class, you're all working together for the same goal. So that's why I have 3 different sizes. Now, I teach them at the beginning of the year. I ask them, now how do you think we can fill this jar the fastest? And I try to lead them to the answer of, well, if we all do well together, we'll continually get these large brain power, and it'll fill the jar much faster than if we work separately with these small brain power. So why do I call them brain power? Well, because when I tell them that when they're working together, when they're doing the right thing, when they're being respectful, responsible, and safe, that their brain is growing and that they're learning. So this is a physical representation of their brain growing. Wow, the whole class did amazing. Look at this large brain power we just earned. I saw all your brains grow. And then this jar gets full, and that they can see their progress. Now, at the beginning of the year, this jar is going to fill up fast. The first couple days is cool. I'm going to be giving out brain power left and right, and so that they can start to see, oh wow, my actions, they have a positive consequence. But when the year goes on, we might go 4 weeks without filling this up. It's harder to get as you learn the rules, but they still can see their progress daily. And they always are constantly reminding me, oh, it's almost full, it's almost full. And so when it starts to get full, when it's almost there, we will vote as a class to determine what our prize will be, what's our party going to be. And I will pick some selected options, 3 or 4 options, and they will vote as a class to determine their prize. All right, I'm out of here. I'm off to home. Probably going to watch some TV. And just real quick, your mental health is most important. You can't help your students if you're not helping yourself. So make sure after a long day of work, you go home. You go home and you rest. You do what you like doing. Whatever that may be, whatever your hobby is, you go do it, because you need to have time for that. If you spend all your time at school, you're not going to be good. You're not going to be good for your students. And at the end of the day, do what you got to do to make sure that they get the best teacher that they can get that day. So, yep, I'm getting out of here. Thanks for watching my sort of 2.0 tour, I guess you could call it, of the classroom. Going to be coming back strong on Monday for a work day, and then Tuesday we got orientation, and Wednesday is the big day. So, again, I'm out like sauerkraut. See you later. I wish I could be singing to the radio, but there's copyright laws that forbid me from so.